and check out this video. We're becoming a Sticks reaction channel at the moment. But let's check out this video from Sticks. Wuthering Waves has become a global phenomenon. Let's see.
The fact that Wuthering Waves is among them actually shows that from Apple's perspective, Wuthering Waves is already a global phenomenon level game this year. And that's true. There isn't a single...
It can be said that all these games are highly watched works in their respective fields, and the fact that Magic Tide is among them actually shows that from Apple's perspective, Magic Tide is already a global phenomenon level game this year. Right.
Gacha game listed here, except for Wuthering Waves. That is crazy. Wuthering Waves is the gift that just keeps on giving. And by giving, I mean giving ample opportunities to laugh at all the people that said this was going to be a catastrophic failure. Earlier this morning at...
To be fair though, for all the people who have been saying that, and there's been plenty, I think it's not so much that, well, you do have the Genshin Andes, let's face it. There's the Genshin Andes, because they've got such a sunk cost into Genshin. Anything that looks like Genshin or feels like Genshin or sounds like Genshin, which, let's face it, Wuthering Wave does all of those. They don't want to know about it because they put so much money into Genshin that they want that to continue to be the top game. And I guess that's understandable if you've dumped thousands of pounds or thousands of dollars into a game. But, you know, I've really been enjoying Wuthering Waves. But at the same time, there are real reasons to be like, it may fail, or it was gonna fail, just because Genshin is so freaking big, and every other gacha game that's tried to nip at Genshin's ankles has totally failed. Let's face it, they really have. Although, in my opinion, from a mechanical standpoint, in pretty much every way, Wuthering Waves is just a better game than Genshin. So far, of course, the story has got to get better. Voice acting's definitely got to get better. We're going to probably see advancements in quests and events need to get better. It's got its issues, but gameplay-wise, mechanically, this game is just far superior, in my opinion. Far superior.
At 4:24, I know I was awake at 4 in the morning, much to my dismay. I made a tweet covering an article that was posted over on GameLook. I stated, haters said that Wuthering Waves wouldn't make much money in its first month, that it's dead on arrival. Yet according to data from GameLook, it's already made $110 million US and is expected to reach $140 million within its first month of release.
Which is crazy. Man, we love our waifus, don't we now? Jesus, $140 million USD in the first month. That is a big W.
Several hours later,
what was the dev cost on this game? A couple of $100 million, was it?
Titled Wuthering Waves almost recouped the entire development cost in a month.
Okay.
According to a GameLook article, Wuthering Waves' estimated revenue since launch is at least $110 million. By the end of Update 1.0, it could exceed $130 million. In addition, Wuthering Waves appeared at the Apple conference.
I wonder how much of that has been your girl Yinlin. I bet a big portion of it. And it's probably only going to get even bigger with Jinxie and Changli coming. They've got to keep hitting it out the park with those female banners. Don't get me wrong. I like to see the dudes as well. Like, I love Gian and Calcharo, and I'd definitely like to pull for those dudes, but let's face it, it's all about the waifus, isn't it? That's what's going to make the big bucks.
The game has received quite a lot of success, and it really has. The top comment.
Well, if you've only got it, let's have a look on Twitch, actually, at the moment. Let's have a look on Twitch. How is Wuthering Waves doing in the directory? Ignore my typing there. What's it sitting at the moment? 8.1k. Ignore the fact that I'm a caps as well. Caps failing. What's Genshin sitting at the moment? 12.4k. Okay, Genshin's popping today. And what about Honkai Star Rail? We don't actually go to the what's it? We want them in the directory. There we go. So it's actually comparable to Honkai at the moment. Genshin's got a few more people, but it does seem like it's up and down on a daily. You go and look at Wuthering Waves and it's got more viewers than Genshin. Then other days it's comparable or a little bit less, but it's still doing really well. If you go look at all the other gacha games, you're lucky if you go into some of the categories and there's a few hundred people watching them. So it's definitely got its foot in the door. It's just whether or not it can really barge through now. That's all up to the 1.1 update as well. That's going to be the big tell, should I say, for how big Wuthering's going to be, really.
is God, I hope they use that money well on better translators, voice directors, and especially
Agreed.
hire Vanguard
Yeah,
to
agreed.
improve the game's piss poor music.
Agreed. Definitely. Well, I wouldn't say the music's piss poor. I think it's just that Genshin's is way better. Definitely need VA improvements. And I think a lot of it comes down to directing. So I think the VAs do seem like they've got the capability to be good VAs, at least. But there just doesn't seem like there's a direction there, especially with Rover. Like, she's so monotone. It's like there's never any sort of emphasis on there's something going to happen here, or it needs to be emotional, or she needs to be worked up. And I definitely think that's from a direction point of view, probably, isn't it?
I do agree on the translation and the localization. I also agree on the voice direction. Chapter 6 or Act 6 was phenomenal, but that can't be said for Acts 1 through 5. There were performances that definitely stood out, like Gion.
Agreed.
Like
Scar was great.
The vast majority needed a lot of direction.
Scar actually was legit standout. I think out of all the VAs, I think in terms of English at least, anyway, talking about English here, Scar was probably the standout role in my opinion. Dude smashed it out the park. Like the whole time we was in the cutscenes with Scar, I was like, dude, this guy is killing it. If all the other VA was at that level, it'd be top tier.
Specifically talking about the article over on GameLook, Ming Chao, which is Wuthering Waves, made a successful appearance at Apple's WWDC conference with cumulative revenue exceeding 800 million. GameLook reports in the 2 weeks since it was officially launched, the discussion among players of the second game, Wuthering Waves, has never stopped. While the discussion in the player community remains hot, Kudo has also been adjusting and optimizing the game content. After the second half of
I think they've been doing a good job.
Of Wuthering Waves was released in advance on June 6th.
They've had some stumbles.
Topping the best-selling list in 6 countries and regions and entering the top 10 of the best-selling list in 29 countries and regions. It's enough to show that Wuthering Waves is not what many...
That's arguably successful then, isn't it? At least from a launch point of view. Of course, games can drop off. And with this sort of game, it's not a single player. So the player base staying at a decent level is incredibly important. But topping the best-selling list in 6 countries and regions. I want to imagine how many regions that would be. 6 countries and entering the top 10 best-selling list in 29 countries. That's pretty impressive.
Rhythm-setting players say it is. There are still many players who are actually playing the game, and they're also looking forward to Kudo's optimization measures and subsequent updates. That's true. It topped the charts in so many countries around the world. It was the most downloaded game, reaching over 30 million downloads over the course of just that couple week period.
But they're bot sticks. They're all bots. That's what I keep hearing people say on Twitter.
And
the copium with some people.
There are still plenty of mobile players specifically that are hoping and waiting to get into the game. Once they can, revenue is no doubt going to spike even higher. At the 2024 Apple WWDC
when it comes to console
Developers Conference held in the early morning
it's going to be big.
11th Beijing time, Wuthering Waves once again brought some good news. In the game display session introducing the Mac section on the day of the press conference, Wuthering Waves appeared.
Anybody care about Mac? Come on.
This is also the only Chinese game.
Mac gamers have no human rights. Let's face it. Come on, guys. Come on. They're not real people, right? It's okay for using it to do design work and such and working, but who games on a Mac, man? What's wrong with you?
That appeared in this conference. Other games included Dead Island 2, Sniper Elite 2, Assassin's Creed Shadows.
I had a blast playing Dead Island 2 as well, actually. I'm going to stop pausing so much, but I had a real blast playing Dead Island 2.
Control, Power World, Resident Evil, Riven.
Game definitely had issues.
Valheim, WoW.
It was just fun.
Frostpunk, Resident Evil, and, well, I mean, I think that I see 2 Resident Evils I did. And RoboCop. The biggest news at yesterday's conference was Apple's announcement of a partnership with OpenAI. This is largely...
And Elon Musk really is not a big fan of that either, is he? He's talking about banning iPhones and Apple products coming into Twitter HQ. Yeah, they're going to be taken off people and kept in a cage until you leave the building.
Unimportant. Let's skip...
Which he says it's all about security, but I don't know if it's just about the fact that he's got his own... Chat GPT competitor, hasn't he? What is it, Grok?
To the part specifically concerning Wuthering Waves. Here we go. What does the appearance of Wuthering Waves at this conference mean? Before we delve any deeper into the article, let me take a moment here to thank my incredible patrons over on Patreon.
Guys, as well, definitely go check out Sticks. If you like your gacha games, Sticks is definitely the man for lots of gacha content.
Apple executives showcase the games that will be available on Apple Mac devices this year. A poster for Wuthering Waves appeared on the big screen. It can be seen that the games listed alongside Wuthering Waves In the new game list include classic
As I
works
say, though,
such
who's
as
gaming on a
Wuthering,
Mac?
which has been around for
Come
7
on.
years, as well as Frostpunk 2 and Assassin's Creed Shadow, which have not yet been officially launched. It includes well-known AAA standalone masterpieces such as Resident Evil and Dead Island, as well as online games such as Phantom
I wouldn't
Blue, which
call
has been
Dead Island 2 a
extremely popular this
masterpiece.
year.
I had a lot of fun with that
Phantom Blue
game.
here is
A lot of fun with it. But the idea that Dead Island 2 is a masterpiece, that's, you know,
Pow World. It can be said that these games
being
are all
kind.
highly watched works in their respective fields, and the fact that Magic Tide, it can be said that these games are all highly watched works in their respective fields, and the fact that Wuthering Waves is among them actually shows that from Apple's perspective, Wuthering Waves is already a global phenomenon level game this year, and that's true. There isn't a single gacha game listed here.
I'd say the fact that it's had 30 million downloads shows more that it's a global phenomenon than the fact that Apple Mac, whatever the event is putting Wuthering up there with those games. Because that makes it bigger than Dead Island 2. That's for sure.
Except for Wuthering Waves. That is crazy. It is not difficult to understand why Apple listed it as a blockbuster game this year. After Wuthering Waves was officially launched, it not only topped the best-selling list in the Asia-Pacific market, but also achieved quite good response in the European and American markets, according to the data.
Also, I'd love to see the earnings revenue from Europe and America specifically.
Have exceeded 30 million.
That's the big number. That's crazy.
And this is just an estimate, mind you. This is not set in stone. This is not verified, 100% valid, as Kudo have not confirmed specifics. But when it comes to revenue posted online for any gacha game, it's always an estimate. Wuthering Waves' global revenue on all platforms, including PC, not just mobile exclusively here, has exceeded 800 million last week.
Was that 800 million what though? If that's USD, that's insane. That seems like that'd be far too much. If they said about 300 million, I think maybe. The numbers around 100 to 130 to 140 million definitely seem like that's attainable, but 800 million?
According to this trend, Wuthering Waves' revenue in the first natural month is very likely to exceed 1 billion yuan.
Right,
So
how much is 1 billion yuan in dollars? 1 billion yuan in USD. What's the conversion rate there? It's $137 million. Okay, so yeah, that is about right. Okay, all right. It sounds a lot better when you say 800 million, doesn't it? Or a billion. You're like, damn. Okay.
Is a very explosive performance.
It's still good though.
This year, and that's true. 110 million US dollars, potentially 130 plus by the time the month ends. We have to factor in here that we're also getting Jinsa's banner towards the end.
And Changli. I think Changli potentially has the ability to maybe outperform Jinsi. The fact that Jinsi's a DPS, I think a lot of people are going to want, and she looks awesome. But some of the footage that I've seen of Changli looks definitely like she's going to be popular. That's for sure.
Revenue from Jinsa's banner as well to add to the no doubt monolithic amount of revenue that Kudo has received, that they have earned through the Yinlin and Gion banners, along with all the whales that are trying to push ahead. On the other hand, Apple gave Wuthering Waves global recommended resources today in more than 100 countries worldwide, in April 22 and May 23rd. This shows that not only excellent results achieved after the game was launched, but also the game quality itself was recognized by Apple before the official launch. The achievements made by Wuthering Waves after the early release of the second half of version 1.0 on June 6th have demonstrated that the quality of the game itself is...
As I say though, 1.1 is going to be the real test. If 1.1 is done right, and there's no PR stumbles, translation issues again, weapon banner problems like there has been, and there's no reason to go a little bit crazy with gifts and giveaways for the community, I feel like 1.1 is going to be the real... like I said, not just the test, but the real tell of how well this game's going to do. We're getting a new area. We're getting a couple of new banners, story content, events. That's what they really need to do as well. They need to smash it with the events and more in-game content. I think new echoes are coming as well. Rework of the echo leveling, farming system, whatever that might entail. Stamina storage. There's lots of potential to absolutely smash it. I think if they flop 1.1 though, I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to maybe go back to playing other games or just not play Wuthering so much. They need two-factor authentication as well. Am I crazy? Has there not been 2FA added to this game yet? That needs to happen. If you're going to expect people to be paying money into a game like this, you need to get 2FA onto the game. That just needs to be a thing. All games should have that anyway, but especially one that's got massive emphasis on monetization.
Strong enough. At the same time, Kudo's series of operational remedial measures and operations to the game content after the launch have demonstrated to players their attitude and ability for long-term continuous operation. After the release of the second half of version 1.0 and Wuthering Waves' strong entry into the top 5 of the domestic iOS best-selling list, more and more silent players began to speak out. Well, yeah, they were very vocal. You want to know why? Because they didn't expect Wuthering Waves to achieve the success that it did, so they started losing their minds. They were like, oh my god, there's no way. We have to try and debunk this. There were 34...
I definitely do agree to that. I think that's the people who have got such a sunk cost fallacy and have put so much money into games like Genshin. That there can't be another open world RPG gacha game. There just can't. It can't happen because then I've wasted all my money, right? I've spent all this money and my waifus. Nobody cares about my waifus anymore. They're all playing this other game when they care about those waifus. Of course, there's going to be the people who are probably, I think, coming from a logical point and thinking, you know, like I said earlier, the game might not do well because Genshin's just so freaking big. But like I say, man, I'm glazing this game, aren't I? I'm glazing it. I enjoy it though.
4 million pre-registered players. Clearly, they were all bots. Oh my god, there were 30 million downloads. Most of them were probably just people that were re-rolling. Oh, they made $100 million plus. Well,
there probably is a little bit of that though. Let's face it, when it comes to gacha games, people always have. I think I'm one of the people that doesn't do that. I never have like a free-to-play and a paid account. I never go back and just go for re-rolls on my first banners. I just don't do it. Maybe I'm missing out on something there.
Well, I mean, you know, Genshin Impact made more than $100 million. Oh, Honkai Star Rail also made more than $100 million. How else can we attempt to lessen the impact that Wuthering Waves has had on the gacha scene? They're molding. They're losing.
They are.
Their shit every time Wuthering
the
Waves
Genshin Andes are molding.
Haters are the first people to complain. They're the first people to cover it, which just further...
I wouldn't even call them... they're just Genshin Andes. I don't think there's many people hating on Wuthering Waves. I think they're Genshin Andes. They really are. That's the people who are hating on Wuthering Waves. I've seen some of the mechanics in Wuthering. I mean, like, oh, dude, that's actually good. Fuck.
More people are curious about it. As noted, this is an estimate. This is not...
Be curious to see when Kuro actually release official numbers.
Actual, real, legitimate revenue could be significantly, exponentially higher.
It could be lower as well.
Ultimately be lower. But judging by the rankings, we've seen how it has been absolutely dominating Japan. It makes...
And I also think as us as consumers shouldn't get too bogged down in that. Of course, it's definitely going to determine the long-term success of the game. That's for sure. But at the same time... A rocky start doesn't necessarily mean that the continuation of the game isn't going to improve and it's going to get bigger and it's going to get better. Let's face it, Genshin got bigger and better and better. So I don't think we should get too wrapped up in that because at the end of the day, it's not going in our pocket, is it? Of course, the more money Kuro makes, the more likely they're going to be to reinvest and keep going. So, yeah.
Sense that these estimates are fairly accurate. 1.1 is releasing in literally 2 weeks.
That's the big tell.
Jinsa coming. We have Zhongli coming. We have an entirely new region. We have tons of content. I'm incredibly excited and I'm very curious to see how the game continues.
1.1 is going to be the big determining factor of how well this game does. I think 1.1 is almost going to be more important than the initial launch. Your thoughts? I genuinely think that that's going to be what decides the success of this game, if I'm honest. More than the launch, if I'm honest.
It's not a gacha game you're all interested in. Absolutely no problem. I got you covered 2 different videos on screen right now. Maybe more up your alley.
Yeah, guys, should definitely check out Sticks. Lots of gacha videos and stuff if you're interested in that sort of stuff. But yeah, looks like from what we see, they've done well in terms of numbers. And I know that makes a lot of the Genshin Andes mad. It really does. I don't know why. Well, I do. It's the sunk cost fallacy, like I say. But at the same time, don't we all just want more fun games? But I guess if you're 10 grand in the hole, you don't. You just want more waifus, I guess, on your game. But yeah, definitely go check out Sticks. Drop him a sub if you want to see more content like that. And yeah, looks like Wuthering's doing okay. Can't wait to see the actual official numbers, though. It'll be interesting to see how much the game's actually made. I really want to see how much the Yinlin banner's made in comparison to the Jian banner as well, because I think it's going to have blown Jian out the water. And then obviously the subsequent banners that are upcoming, be interesting to see how well they do, because I've got a feeling Chongli is going to beat Jinsey. I feel that might be the case, but I'm definitely looking forward to both of them. Hopefully, we get lucky on our pulls, and the wish gods are on our side, and we don't lose our 50-50s, and we don't hit hard pity as well. Yeah, so yeah, go check out Sticks, and yeah, let me know what you think.